Well, good morning, guys. Happy Sunday to you. And what happens if you do go to a party and you happen to be ketovore, carnivore, like I am? Well, quick story. Neighbors across the street, they had their 50th wedding anniversary, invited us to the Mass and the reception. So, Mass started at 2, and then we started the reception at 4. So, of course, we wanted to go, and they're great, great people. And again, anything I say here about food has no reflection on them as people or their choices. This is a question about us and what we choose to eat when we go to places. But here's a few tips I'm going to give to you. Okay. So one, here in Mexico, they'll start with the botanas, the snacks, the little hors d'oeuvres, the tray food. They bring it out. And what did I have available to me? Well, we had these wheat fried in seed oil. They used to call them wagon wheels, but now they're pressed into squares. It's essentially wheat, and I've done these. You buy them, and then you fry them in seed oils, and they expand, and obviously they absorb all the seed oil. And I remember them tasting really good. But of course, they're super toxic, poisonous, horrible for you, so don't do that. Then they had potato chips, which is just... So if these are the wagon wheels, potato chips are like right here. And the only reason I call them less horrifically poisonous is that at least they contain potato, which is not the best food in the world to eat anyway. Potatoes were cultivated by the Incas from a very poisonous mother plant, and we actually don't know how that happens. If we lose potatoes, we'll never get them again because the Incas don't remember how they did it, and of course, during all the history, they've pretty much been kind of wiped out. So we had potatoes, we had those wagon wheel things, and then, oh, my saving grace, thank God, I'm in Mexico, chicharrones. Yay. So these are cracklins, these are pig skins, and they're actually fried in lard. Yay, and salted, which was wonderful. And they had some fresh salsa, which was tomato, garlic, chili, cilantro, and onion, generally. No worries, man. Those are all keto fruits and veg herbs, or herbs, as my British friends like to say. So I was starting with those, and then I would dip it in and or pour it on for the second, because you don't want to double dip, right? So you dip first, bite, and you actually pour the salsa on to the next piece, because the chicharrones, they broke them pretty big, pretty long, and the server kept coming back, and she's all, her name was Fer, by the way. She's absolutely wonderful. Her tip was huge for Mexican standards. I gave her 50 pesos, and I gave Manuel, who was the server for the drinks. No, Samuel, sorry. Manuel Samuel. No, it was Samuel. So they each got 50. I don't know how much the other guests gave. It's not my thing. I just like to make sure that, and oh my God, it's like when their faces light up, you did pretty good. So I was happy with that. And so it may not seem like much maybe to an American, but 50 pesos calculates out to at least purchase power and everything. It comes out to about $5 for each. So I gave about $10 for the both of them, and it was for a couple hours work. So I thought that was kind of cool. And of course there were probably 60, 70 people there. So I think if everyone gave them some cash, they probably had a pretty good night. I mean, it'd be like you coming home with like $700-800 if you're a server for 2 hours work, 3 hours work. Yeah. So anyway, do definitely tip your servers, please. So that was the Botanas. That's kind of what they offered, and that's what we had. And then now the drinks. What do you do? Well, thank God, again, they had mineral water, sparkling mineral water. So I drank that all night. Fine. The kids had some tequilas and this and that, and some sugary flavored drinks to mix with them. I think Isabel stuck with either agua natural, which is regular water, or agua mineral, which is the mineral water. So she was pretty good there too. Good for her. Oh, I'm happy. Watching the nice garbage guys go by. Yeah. So Yeah, the garbage people are really cool here. I like them. I don't know what they call them. I forget what they call them in Britain. Dustbin collectors or something. Anyway, it's always busy here. Sunday, doesn't matter. So the third thing, the main course. So what happens? What do you do with the main course? Well, here's what they had. They had a salad. Now I know it was mixed with pecans. I could see it. And they had a few raisins. I'm not going to pick out a few raisins. All right. So he plopped some salad. I'm like, a little more, please. And boom. So I had probably half my plate with salad. Iceberg lettuce, shredded this, shredded that, purple cabbage. And then for the entree, they had the plat principal, as they would say, I guess, plat principal. They had mole with chicken, but it tasted like thighs in the end, so it was pretty good chicken, and the mole was spicy as hell. And then they had pork ribs in what tasted like almost like a pepillon, so I know that would have pumpkin seeds. And then they had paella, so that's a Spanish concoction that has rice, and then it's sprinkled with mariscos, or pieces of seafood and whatever. Well, what do you think I did? Oh, and they had rajas in crema. So you couldn't go wrong there. We used poblano chilies mixed with heavy cream and butter mostly. That's typically how you make it. So I got the salad. I got obviously the meat with a little bit of mole. They do put sugar in the mole, but I'm not going to cry over it because it was their anniversary, and I know I was going pretty much zero carb this whole St. Martin's fast, but as it turns out, it was close to dusk, and on Sundays, you don't have to follow fast or anything in the church. And out of the love of your neighbor, because he lives across the street, the guys who invited us, we were able to eat because of love of neighbor. So, yay. Now, if I were metabolically ill, I would have obviously refused everything, but I'm in much better shape now. Again, if you're still trying to get a hold of this thing after a month or two, just don't go to places for a little bit. I mean, really, if you're sick and you're coming off meds and you've been, you're in your 60s and you've been told you're this close to a heart attack or whatever, use your head, all right? Really. But in the end, I'm still young and beautiful and handsome and wonderful and healthy, thank God. And I've been that way for well over a year now. So you can take a hit. So I did. I picked the mole, I picked the rajas, and I picked the ribs. And obviously no paella. And I only went up for one serving because I had pretty much gorged on the chicharrones, which were fine. Still a little hungry because I'm used to eating a lot more food, but no worries. So drank mineral water for the rest of the evening, and then the wedding cake. Well, thankfully, they just came out with these little slivers of wedding cake. It was super sweet. Oh, I don't know how you guys do it. Day by day, eating this sweet and stuff. No, normally Mexico's not a sweet culture. The U.S. is, definitely. If I get a U.S. recipe, even before I got smart and decided to eat the right foods, I would, whatever the American recipe said, I would cut the sugar in half immediately. Done. And if that was still too sweet, then I would back it off. By now, I'm backing anything that I eat in the form of, say, like, pie season's coming up with Christmas, and I think Thanksgiving is coming up here on Thursday for Americans. Now I'm pretty much cutting sugar either totally out because it has enough other things in it which are sweet enough for me, or I cut it to the bone. Probably cut it down to a quarter of what they would even ask for. So the cake, again, sweet, but not a whole lot. And I got home bloated, of course, because I'm not used to eating this kind of food. Again, the mole, it had some really condimented extra sugar. And so what do? Well, I had some leftover beef patties, thankfully. So I grabbed about 2 quarter-pounder beef patties and had some cheese and its accompanying bacon and some bone broth that I just mixed in there. So I heated that up, ate that up, and then here's the elixir of life to me. I crack open the apple cider vinegar, organic of course, pretty good serving of it. I got my water chaser, down with the vinegar, down with some water. Perfectly wonderful. Slept like a baby. As a matter of fact, after I had finished eating about maybe 9:30, 25 to 10 or so, and I was in bed by 10, maybe a little after, and no issues, no stomach upsets, no GERD, nothing. So how did I do? I did pretty good. But I did notice a definite, my body reacting to the food. And it was like, oh, dude. Now, people who do this for 20, 30 years, yeah, they're numb to it, but it doesn't change the fact that your body is screaming and suffering, all right? So, try to get at least keto as fast as you can. And with that said, let's just review real quick. If you go to a party, for the hors d'oeuvres, try to pick the fattiest, non-veg, non-fried thing you can, unless, of course, it's fried in a healthy oil like butter or lard. For drinks, stick with water or mineral water, unsweetened, of course. Number 3, the main course. Look for things that have vegetables in them and not too many starchy vegetables, no grains, and no sugars. Look for heavy concentrations of meat. And again, you can always scrape the sauce off and just eat as much of the meat as you can. Great. And for the cake, it depends on you. These guys are great. What the hell, right? So, and the cake was such a small portion. I probably would have eaten a small portion of cake anyway, just because it's the right thing to do. It's traditional. It's what you got to do out there. So, in the end, there's how you can go ahead and manage what happens if you're invited to a party and what you can eat. Now, you can also politely tell your host, yeah, we're coming from this other thing, and I'm going to be full, but we're going to come and celebrate, and then you eat a big old plate of meat, fatty meat and eggs, and you show up, and now you're on fast. And with that, again, you can always drink coffee, tea, mineral water, regular water. P.S. The coffee. I'm weaning off coffee, and I had already explained that in another video. By the 3rd of December, I'm going to be off coffee completely and totally. So I know they did have coffee available, but it never even kind of came around, and I wouldn't have drunk it either because, again, it's going to kind of screw up my weaning process. All right, so that's that. All right, you guys, so you take care. You have a great Sunday, and we'll catch you on the next one. Be well.